Let's start that again, shall we? What's happening? I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. We'll try that one more time, shall we? I've got to get it right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to Have an iOS. Oh yeah, baby. And today we have a very special guest. It is Mark Wade. So kick back with us for the next couple of hours. We're going to find out all about this elusive man, multi-instrumentalist, but we're going to kick off with a track of his called The Road is Calling My Name. Let's ooja. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. My name's Jade. This is How to Have an iOS. A few false starts there. I stupidly, last night, swapped around some of the buttons on my Stream Deck. And you know muscle memory? When you go to press a button, you know it's there. That muscle memory works really well. Unfortunately, too well. I kept hitting the wrong button. So welcome to the show. It's Friday morning here in Australia, Thursday for the rest of you. I hope your week's been really good. You've made lots of music, or you haven't made lots of music and you've just been kind to yourself, yeah? Because that's the most important thing. If you're not doing so good, lots of love to you. I hope you find some strength to get over that kind of stuff. We just heard there, that was The Road is Calling My Name. That's one of the latest releases from our very special guest today. And now I've been wanting to have this human being on my show for a little while now to find out who is the man behind the hat and the glasses. Yeah, because we see him around quite a fair bit, popping up on people's songs as a bit of a collab dude with his own music, and sometimes we see him on his videos multiple times. But we're going to talk all about that today. We're going to have a really good time. So thank you all for joining us here in the chat. You know the drill. We'll say hello to you at around the half an hour point as we get into it. But without further ado, let's bring on the man of the moment. I've been hanging to have a chat. I had a chat with him yesterday, so we've got to know each other a little bit. Let's bring him on later, gentlemen. It is time has been kind. Mark Wade, let's bring him on. Oh, yeah. How you going?
Hey, that looks really cool. The little pictures of me. I'm so used to that now.
I know. Look at them floating around everywhere. So yes, folks, if you'd like to show your love to Mark, he's got 2 custom emojis. If you are a member of the channel, you can fling them around and have fun. Just you know why I do it? I put those in there, Mark. I treat it like when you go to a sporting event and people are bored and they start throwing around the beach ball. That's what. See, there they go. The beach balls.
As long as they don't throw around beer, it's okay.
Yes.
Beach balls are accepted.
Not at the wrestling. They take them off you, from what I hear. Look, Ed's going crazy with the emojis. How are you?
Cool.
How are you today?
It's a New York day. It's a beautiful day in New York. We finally got some nice weather. It's getting a little bit warmer, and that means there's more outdoor videos coming.
Awesome. Well, it's always interesting because you're going to get the heat and we're now getting cold here. And let me tell you, it's like 8 degrees here. It's terribly cold. That's not that cold,
wow.
but it's cold for Australia. So, all right. Well, let's dive in because I want to hit you with the hard-hitting question that I hit everybody with. And I'm interested to really know this. Mark, what does music mean to you?
I haven't heard that question yet. Did you ask everybody else that? No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody.
Music was my first love. That was it. I fell in love at an early age, and I'm one of the fortunate ones. I've made a career in music. I work in music. My daily bread is repairing broken woodwind and brass instruments, and I deal with crazy clientele that write get well soon letters to their instruments when I have them in my shop. So being neurotic does wear off on you when you work with neurotic clients. So I think at some point I started out pretty okay. And then from there, it just kind of expanded into being neurotic when it comes to sound and getting it right.
So have you become neurotic about your own music due to being around so many neurotic musicians and their instruments, or is it something that was always kind of part of you?
I think it's getting worse. I don't think I don't think any attention deficit syndrome gets any better throughout time. I think it gets a little bit worse. No, I really feel that we all grow, and there's this practicing. The more I practice, the worse I get, because I was told that my expectation level just keeps rising. So at some point, you got to stop practicing and listen to what you did, because you keep expecting to do better. And I think that's a problem. It's really a problem. When you're an artist, you're never really happy. You're never really satisfied. I should have done this just a little bit different here. I should have mixed this. So it takes a while to release anything, because I don't want to be sitting in the car somewhere in a couple of years saying, if only I would have done this a little bit differently.
That's funny. I know I'm going to end up in an old person's home going, why have I still not released my album I've been working on since 2012? Rocking back and forward. I know that's coming. And I've dealt with it. I know, because, it is what it is. But we are perfectionists. We criticize ourselves and how hard is it for you to let go of a song? So you sat there, you've been working on a song, you've got a deadline, is it hard for you to let go?
You know, the music is hard to let go, but when I do repair work, when I do professional repair work, I'm constantly closing the case, and in a few minutes pass, I open up the case again and I check it again for the wow factor. I want to open up the case and I want to get wowed. So within that time span of finishing it and going back to it, it could be a day or two, but at the end of the day, you got to get paid.
Yeah.
So you got to close the case, give it back to the customer, and see their smile before you give it back to them, because you really have to get paid. And it's the same thing with the videos. You could just stay there and keep moving things back and forth in the sound levels and the mix. And then at some point, I used to jam with a teacher that used to say, pencils down.
Yeah.
That's what they say in school when you're finished a test, pencils down. So you gotta really abide by finishing.
Yeah.
I'm a completion junkie, so I have to finish stuff. And sometimes it's difficult when you're collaborating with somebody that they're on the same page with, tiny little movements of sound, and everybody's got an opinion with it. It gets a little bit hairy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we live in the future now, we're able to collaborate online with people and make music. It still can be similar to that, like I like to call it, when you're in a rehearsal room with a band and you're married to 5 people. But the worst thing about it is you're not getting any sex out of it. So, I mean, as fun as that is, like I prefer to get some sex out of it if I'm going to deal with 5 weddings. But yeah,
it's a personal best. Everything that you wind up doing is just a personal best, and you try to give it all you have. But at some point, you gotta finish the painting.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the hardest thing, is to finish the painting and then sit back and enjoy your work.
And I've talked about this with so many other artists too. No matter how you release something, and then normally you'll listen back to it straight away and go, oh man, I really could have done. No matter what, even if you feel it's the perfect release, artists change the way they play the songs they've released just naturally anyway, once they go on tour, because they find easier ways that seem to suit and change with the way we change as people. Does that?
I thought they were just bored of singing the same tune over and over again. They said, "Screw it, I'm just going to do it and get it over with."
Yeah, that too, because that is the case, and a lot of bands who release music, the one of the major things that isn't talked about a lot by big artists is, that song you all love. We hated that song, and you all love it. Yeah, it's always the song you hate that gets picked up. Yeah, it's the one that becomes big. Like, there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
I couldn't believe Pete Townsend said, "I like my job. I don't like the music. I like my job." Okay, instantly I have. Every time I listen to The Who, I'm saying, well, if it's a job, you shouldn't be doing it. You made enough.
Let's go back into the early life of Mark Wade. When you were a youngster, do you remember the music that was played in your household by your family? Who were some of these artists that you would hear? And have they had an effect on what you do today?
It's funny. I didn't grow up with any musicians in my family,
right?
At all.
Same here.
The only musician. I mean, I don't have it. I don't have an uncle that played violin or piano, or an aunt. I was really the first one. My brother used to play the Beatles constantly on an old record player, and once upon a time there was a tavern, because he liked to drink and he liked the tavern songs. And it stuck. It just rubbed off. I was a disaster in science and math and English, but I could do music. But it was a funny story. I went to grammar school, and there was a music aptitude test, and I was all excited. Oh, I'm gonna play in school, and I failed the music aptitude test.
Oh no.
So I was totally shot down. Here I did terrible in math, I did terrible in science, terrible, and my first love, I failed at before I even got started. So I hooked up with the teacher. I said, I messed it up. Give me another shot. And he was a nice guy. He was a little bit patient. He heard me playing a few times, and he made a comment. Mark's really killing music, you know that. And I was like, don't, you know, you know, I really didn't want to hear that.
No.
And then slowly I played in all the talent shows, and I was so nervous. I sat at the keyboard, I sat at the piano, and one of my tunes that I used to play was the Darling Be Home Soon tune that you brought back so many memories when he did a cover of it by the Lovin' Spoonful. And my feet were so nervous on the pedals that all you could hear is my feet knocking. You couldn't hear my vocals, you couldn't hear the piano. And the first time I did it, everybody turned around and they go, "Who's playing?" Because the piano was off the stage, everybody was on the stage. And then that was my first introduction in playing live, and I got hooked.
Yeah. Um, so music clearly in your blood. I mean, you've been doing it such a long time. I see so many parallels between myself and you. A very long time from a teenager, actually doing music. Do you recall the first album that you purchased with your own money, and or somebody gave you, and somebody gave you? Because I like those albums because people in my life always gave me albums that sucked. It's like they didn't know who I was. And I'd have to go, "Thank you." Never play that. So what was your first album?
Okay, the first album that I bought from Tower Records in New York was Piano Man.
Nice.
And I'm not a Billy Joel fan. I grew out of Billy Joel really, really quick. I played it ad nauseum and try to play piano like Billy and sing. But what really captured me that I wore out the album was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That had all the elements that I was really searching for in my life. And the piano was cool. Usually the guitar is cool, the lead singer is cool.
Yeah.
But Elton made it really cool. He was jumping around, and that album, Harmony, I just played Harmony over and over and over again. And it's only recently that I was able to really sing it. It's a really rough album to do any of the vocals. As you're a vocalist, it just goes. It's like they sped up the vocals on it, and it's really rough. But that was like my first album, and I bought the sheet music and I brought it to my piano teacher, and she was a classical piano teacher, Mrs. Pesh, and she looked at it and she said, "We're studying classical music, Mark." And I went back and told my mom, I really don't want to do classical music, but you got to have a foundation. That's all I heard. Foundation. You got to have a foundation. It's the foundation that matters. You could do anything you want, but and I did it, but it really wasn't for me. But at the same time, I was taking apart my piano. I was putting microphones in the upright piano and recording it on a Webcore, Juliet tape machines, and I would be recording. And it's amazing to me. So many years later, I'm doing the same thing. I'm in my room creating as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's just, I took a break, got married, had kids, made a living. But music has always been there for me. It was my therapy. It's my therapist. It was my out. It was my escape button on the keyboard. was always great to be able to sit at a bench and fix something broken and get paid for it.
Yeah, I find that really interesting that you know, now, have that's your job because, you know, for the longest time, we sit here on YouTube and we have all these great shows that play our music and stuff like that. And you see somebody over a period of time and think, I wonder what they do away from here, you know? And when we chatted yesterday and you're like, I repair woodwind instruments, I just was like, that's rad because that is such a, I mean, you are in control of the things that are beloved to people that to make their best music. So, did you like when you were at school? You know, we're talking about learning music. Did you have a teacher that hit you over the hand with a ruler? Did you learn the? I'll get back to the point I'm trying to make. Did you learn the recorder? Did you have a mean teacher like with piano? Did it make you want to quit?
Okay, music can do one or two things. If you hear somebody play, like if I hear Hetriani play,
Right.
I don't even want to go near my guitar.
Right.
Fuck that. I will never. If I can't get close to that, it's such a turnoff. I don't want to play. And then the next day, I'll say, "Fuck, I want to play like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to play. I want to play." So either it gets really inspiring. And music, you hear somebody play a stupid recorder or a violin. For me, I heard my buddy play Hot Cross Buns, and I was hooked. I go to my mom. I was really little. I go, I want to play Hot Cross Buns. And she goes like she's making dinner and like, you know, we have no money for a piano. What's the matter with you? You know, and that was my dream, and that was my working experience. I didn't have parents to buy Wurlitzer keyboard at the time or Roland electric piano. So I made a living working, made some money working, and started buying equipment. And my dad goes to me, you know, you really should be saving your money. You shouldn't be buying this stuff. I'm going, no, I need a 12 string.
Oh, no, yeah. Then it kicks in. What was your first piano, what keyboard that you got? What was that?
The first electronic was a Farfisa. It was, oh no, actually the first keyboard I got was an EP20, was a Roland electric piano. And then I wound up flipping it for a Farfisa. And it had all these buttons on it. And I just fell in love with electronics and buttons. I mean, you kept switching the buttons, but it really didn't do much. But I liked it. It had all the buttons.
Look. Is that it?
There it is. Wow.
Look at that thing, man.
70s. That's right. It had a great harpsichord sound that I never used. A terrible like a piano sound. The sound in the beginning. Wow, I haven't seen that in years. That's cool.
Yeah, you've got a is it vibrato, piano, and harpsichord?
And that's high tech.
Yeah, I know. For them, that was like whoa.
That's a high tech. 61 keys, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, it is definitely. Look how that's a pretty long keyboard there.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Wow.
Did it come in the case like this?
It did, and the stand was extra. The stand was like $70.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful stand, but I couldn't afford the stand, so I was putting it like on my bed playing. I was putting it on chairs. And then my mom and dad surprised me. They went to the music store and they bought my parents were always supportive, but the money was always tight.
Yep.
So they went to the music store and bought the stand, and the guy in the music store goes to them, you know, your son is talented. And my father goes, yeah, just give me the stand. It's $70. You're not tricking me. I've heard him play. I've heard the kid play. You're just trying to make the sale go a little bit quicker. No, it was a nice thing. I'll never forget when they came home with the stand.
It's the little things. It is indeed. So, did you move up from there once you
I did.
Where'd you
Then
go
I
there with the
started getting
keyboard?
into guitar.
Right.
Then I started getting into guitar, and then I really did my best to sing and play guitar, and I was in bands, but they we every band that I was in, we were auditioning singers, and I'd be playing keyboard or guitar, rhythm guitar, and I'd always go, "Well, it sounds like this." And then the guys in the band would turn around and say, "Well, why don't you just sing it? Because you know how it goes, you know." And that's really the takeoff. That's when my singing career really took off, when we were auditioning singers and just nobody could get close.
It's a really common thing, I think. I know I've experienced that being in bands and joined as a guitarist or something, and then we had singers, and this was before I actually started singing. And I would go, I hear this, and people would always go, "Well, you should sing it." Like, and I'd go, "I don't know about that. Like, I want to play guitar." And they're like, "But you can sing." And it's like, "Yeah, but I want to play guitar," and it always gets stuck up the front. But you know, hey, I don't mind, as we were discussing before. You put me on a stage,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to take the spotlight.
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to play in the background. I get asked to play keyboard, and somebody else sings. I'm really happy to do backup vox and hang out in the back. And to be a front man is one of the coolest things that you could do. It's the biggest responsibility that you could do. I mean, the whole band is getting judged by the singer.
Yeah.
But I fall into that really easy. But I'm more comfortable sitting on the sidelines.
You get blamed for
Mixing
everything
or-
as the singer. You get blamed for every single thing. And, you know,
Well, yeah. It's usually both ways. It's usually could you raise me up a little bit? No. You're 4 dB already. 4 dB you are. You want to go 5? No. But when you listen to music on the radio, you hear all the lyrics.
yeah.
You know, that's one of the hardest part, is to please everybody on a mix. Do you have that issue?
Especially
Do you?
live. Especially live.
Especially live.
For
yeah.
anybody who's ever been to a rehearsal room, you've been in a band, gone to a rehearsal room, then, you know, you hire out the room. There's normally a really shitty old PA in the corner. Frank Zappa's sung about this stuff, you know, and you get in there, and no matter what you do with that PA, the vocal is terrible and you can't hear yourself over it. And a lot of the time with gigs, it's the case too, that you can't hear yourself. And that's always, I find, not big gigs, not like, you know, professional bands and stuff, but you go and see a local band, the vocals are always down too low. And it's always a struggle to hear what the people are singing. And you are right. Like, music always has the vocal up front because that's the hook, you know. And it's really hard to achieve that with a lot of smaller venues and even bigger venues. I went to a gig recently and I couldn't hear the vocals. I thought they were buried way too low, and that was a big concert. Yeah, so.
And the worst criticism that I could ever get is I can't hear the vocals. I don't know
Yep.
what you're singing about.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm working at it so hard to be at the end. Well, it would have been nice to hear the lyrics. And I'm like, well, you know, when you're working with other people, you can't really expect them to mix it the way you want to hear it. I mean, it's a little bit difficult. And I have a pretty big collab list of people that I jam with, and that's the final end mix is always a real issue.
Yeah, and look, this is one of the hard things about mixing music without an engineer, and having fellow bandmates or one member mix stuff, because that one person it's hard for them to be subjective and, you know, to give everyone equal parts instead of understand how and what's best for the song. And that's why for the longest time immemorial, we had engineers, because you would go in and they were impartial. They would know what's best for the song, and they'd know what to bring forward. And you'd have, I remember being in studios, and our guitarist would stand over the engineer and go, "Can you put me up a little bit?" And I'd be like, "Dude, we're paying him $2,000. Shut the fuck up."
Here's an extra 10.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing, man. We invested in him. Like, just have some faith. Like, this guy's put out songs that are beautifully mixed. This is why we picked him. Your little guitar solo is, just wait till the end. And then we'll say something. But, your input is bullshit. Shut up.
And everybody hears it a little bit different.
Yes.
Everybody hears it. I think my best studio that I could play in is my Honda Civic. I mean, that's like the truth detector. That's the barometer.
Yeah. Look, I've talked about that so many times on the channel. You should be listening to listening to a mix on everything you can. And I showed you this, and I really do show people this. I'm going to do it today. When I do a mix,
that's cool. Yeah,
I listen on this.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is the biggest piece of shit in the world. Is a Bluetooth speaker. It sounds like dog crap, but if you can get something to sound okay on this, it's normally going to be okay across the board. Next is your car stereo.
Wow.
So this is my car stereo because I don't own a car, but it's good to find crap sounding stuff to see if your stuff sounds good. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Let's play another song, and then we'll come back. We'll say hello to everybody who's here today, and we'll continue on. I'm going to play.
How come there's a knife?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. There was a knife going on.
I saw it. I just don't question it, man.
Okay.
You know what? Whatever.
I didn't know if that was like the signal for cut.
I think it was Leila sending it. She was actually sending that knife to Heather. So there you go. So we've got Leila telling Heather to shut up, and there's a knife. And Heather responds with a kiss. See, you know what,
hey,
Mark?
Heather.
It's just best to keep out of the chat because they're all lunatics over there.
Yeah, and I'm one of them. That's the scary part.
Aren't you all, you weirdos? All right, let's play a song. I'm going to play It's Come to My Attention. This is a song with you and Francis Damasio, who I think is here, if I'm correct. Let's bang this track out. Let me get it queued up and rock and roll, and then we'll come back and have a chat about it and so much more. You ready? This is It's Come to My Attention, Francis Damasio, Mark Wade, original track. Let's rock. Boom. Hey! Now that was relaxing. I needed that this morning. That was really cool. Nice little jam there. How did that come about, Mark?
Well, special thanks to Francis to finishing it. I start these tracks and they go so far, and then Francis comes in, he listens to them, he makes some opinions, and then he hits it with all these unique guitar riffs. And I'm not a big fan of the wah wah. I don't know. I just maybe in my past I've used the Morley wah wah way too much, and less is more. But for that tune, Francis just knocked it out of the park. Just,
He's a gun musician.
I'm very happy to be working with him. We have three on deck. We have three new tunes that are on deck, and I could not be happier with them. And Francis's ear is reliable, dependable, and he doesn't mind doing anything over until we're both happy with it. And these are the type of folks that I really want to work with and collab with, because it's not like I did it already, I'm not doing it again.
Yeah.
I did it twice. You don't like it? No, Francis will go, what do you think? I think actually the first time we did it, I think is the best one. And he goes, yeah, okay. So we'll go back to the first one after we did three. So great guy to work with. Hey, Jade, let me ask your opinion. What's like the perfect length for a tune?
Oh God, don't ask me.
I'm like struggling with this, because this is a little bit longer. I think this tune was 3.5. I'm like trying to hover and spin my story and sing my lyrics, and I'm trying to get them to about 3 minutes, but I could go 5. I mean, The Road Is Calling Me is like the short version. I have the extended version. I don't know if anybody will sit through, but like, what's like the typical length that you're happy with in your productions?
It depends. I don't think there is. I don't like to work in absolutes, because I know I'm going to change my opinion always. I mean, modern pop music has always had that opinion of, you want to get on the radio, you're looking at 3 minutes. That's always been a thing in the industry. But it does depend, because, it depends on the story you're telling, depends on the style of music. I mean, I play in grindcore bands where there are some songs that are 9 seconds. And yeah, I mean, there's a band called Anal and the C Word, but they have an album that's 150 odd songs. And each song is about like 13 seconds, 20 seconds. So it depends on the style. There's so many variables. I mean, I think a lot of my music ends up roughly being between 4 to 5 minutes, but I know I could probably pull out an entire verse. I mean, we'll talk about this too as we go on. I have a little section here about this, about, how do you know what to take out of a song? Because we know we learn so much about what to put into a song and how to mix and all this stuff, but what we don't learn is what to take out. So that's the important thing. I don't think the rules of what used to be apply these days, especially because everything's digital now and the radio doesn't dominate the way we listen to music anymore. So 3 minutes doesn't cut the mustard, because, 3 minutes, there was a reason for 3 minutes, and that was because radio sponsors allotted times to get in your songs and get your radio sponsors in and stuff. But we live in a different world now, where Bandcamp, Spotify, all these places don't really give a shit how long your song is. So
no, I feel sorry for Jeff. Jeff is sitting there, boom, 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 and it's like we end the song already. And I watch the chat, and I see the interest level starts to fade, and I want to do like a Jerry Seinfeld. I want to go out on the top. I don't want to go out saying that was way too long. But there's a funny story that Elton John always says. People ask him, "What is the song Daniel about?" And he goes, "I have no idea. I threw out the last verse to make it shorter." I have no idea what Bernie was trying to come up with. So it's hard to weave my story like really, really quickly and accurately, and then have the end of it tie it all together. But I think I sent you one of my own originals that went on for like 4.5 minutes, and I was like, I
That's not
can't do it
long.
any shorter.
That's not long. I don't think. I don't think that's long. I think I know Jeff has a rule. It's kind of like it's a kind of a rule, isn't it? Like 8 minutes or something like that, and then he's not playing you or some nonsense like that. But
I don't blame him.
unless he
I don't.
unless he
I
really
don't
loves
blame
you,
him.
unless he loves you, like if it was Hetriani and Hetriani sent in a
Right.
12.5 minute song, he'd play it twice. We all know that. He wouldn't care about that. Let's say hello to everybody who's here because there's a big turnout of people. We got Kathy here. We got Rainfield Music. We got Rise of Dark Leela. Laurie's Mishmosh is here, and she would be stoked because she now knows that you have eyes. How amazing is that? Leanie's here. We got Thomas Christ, Metalhead Hippie. Yeah, boom. Joe Glenn is here. Jerry Gomes is in the house. Who else? Look, folks, type in the chat so I can find your name. Tremor Bear, Feisty Feather. Ali's here as well. We got Barry Glenn too. Michael Thompson, what's going on, my friend? Francis Damasio, of course. Ed Metal. There are these two here. I'm scrolling up to see who else. Russ8889 is in the house. I saw Pete Johns here at the top of the show. Dr. Zorders is here, of course. Sander Wolf, what's going on? Good to see you. Let me scroll to the bottom, see if I can catch anyone else. Gordon Lee Weaver's in the house as well. Is there anyone I've missed? Susapalooza, hello to you. I see Hugh Caldwell. Boom.
Boom.
Right on, right on, right on. Good deal. Boom. I'm really glad Hippie's here today because I was afraid he wouldn't get here because he was up playing video games, as he does, for 23 hours a day. And so I sent him a personal email going, your friend Mark's on tomorrow. Make sure
Well, I have the biggest thank you that I have is for Hippie to get this community going. I mean,
yeah.
I met so many great people and jam with so many great people, and it's a kind of Jeff.
Yeah.
And I really, in his absence, when he took a break, it was like I had the Jones. I mean, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I'm like hitting my arm like I need that fix. Otherwise, and then it's just like the pandemic. Jeff is a little bit like the pandemic. When he left, you go, oh, great. Friday nights, I'm free. I don't have to run around. I'm not catching a show. And then by the second Friday night, you're going like, what am I doing? There's nothing to do.
I think I'm going to call him Metalhead.
Jeff back.
I'm going to call him Metalhead Heroin now. I'm sure you'll love that. Hey, Rhodey's Jam Cave, what's going on? Good to see you here as well.
Hey, brother.
All right. I want to find out, what was your first band? The first band that you played, did you play in a band? And I love finding out what the name was. What was the name? Because I love first band names. They're always wild.
So the very first band was Meet the Young Beatles, because we were a Beatle cover band.
Wow.
So we couldn't use Beatles. So then the second band was a little bit more heavy metal, and that's when I got turned on to UFO.
Right.
That was Talisman. Talisman was a really cool rock band that I was in, and all they wanted to play was UFO. And lo and behold, years and years later, I'm still playing every UFO tune that anybody will agree to play. And I've seen them so many times. So Talisman was a really big influence. And then from Talisman, I morphed into the Connectors. And that was a pretty cool band. I was always the youngest one in the band. I was always the one with the PA system. So I got into any band that I wanted to. And I was the only one that ever had any space. I had people that lent me space that were really supportive. But the space thing and the PA system, I basically got into every band.
Yeah, I used to know a guy in the scene here, in the metal scene, who had a PA, and he was in every band for about 3 weeks because
Ah,
unfortunately he wasn't any good, but he had a PA. Man, I would have loved a PA when I was young. There's not. Look, I hate going to rehearsal rooms. I really hate them. I hate when I was young, I remember you just walk in because you didn't know any better, and you just walk into a rehearsal room, pay your money, you grab the mic, and just start singing into it. As I got older, I started bringing a can of disinfectants and spraying the
ah,
microphone because I noticed I would get sick a lot from rehearsal rooms, especially the cheap ones. And we didn't have a lot of money. You know, when you're young, you don't have the money to go into an expensive rehearsal room. So you're getting mics that some dude before you has been licking, and you
yeah.
ah.
I had I had a Fender PA system. Then I had a Trainer amp. Um, then I really graduated. I bought acoustic towers, acoustic speakers, and that was like a big deal. Then I went to Sarah Vega, and then I sold everything and I got married. But I was still in music. I was repairing instruments, selling, playing woodwinds. So I didn't need to do it at night. And then about 10 years ago, when my dad got sick, I really needed an escape. And the escape was Apple. On every Apple computer was GarageBand. And I had a TIAC Porter Studio, the 244 model. And it was like such high tech at the time. And it was great that you could record with Apple in GarageBand. And that was like that entered into a whole new era, was to be able to record with the computer. I don't think if Apple didn't include GarageBand in a lot of the computers, I don't think it would have caught on as much now. You're you're into software too. You turned me on yesterday that you're using an iPad Pro for all your stuff. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I remember when I used PCs for all of my music time from the time there was a PC, and but the day I saw somebody with a Mac and saw GarageBand, I was like, oh, this is really going to change things. And strangely enough, it took me only until about maybe 2 years ago till I got my first Mac. I was using iOS way before I got a Mac. So, but GarageBand really did change a lot of things and it's kind of laughed at these days. It still does get a bad rap by a lot of people. People look at it like, no, it's like a kid's toy or something like that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Anything that helps you make music is not a toy, in my opinion. So it's
Well, no, that's the foundation. What's really cool is the transition between GarageBand and Logic. Is once you master one program, to morph into another program is much easier. Um, I was doing great with Logic until the last upgrade. Then all the buttons changed, so you got to start again.
I used Logic on PC up until I think the last version was 5.5 Logic, and that's when Apple purchased it. And I think my Dread Circus album, Gender Optimized, was recorded on a PC using Logic 5.5. Some computers you can still get that thing to work. I was heartbroken when it disappeared off my PC because that's what I learnt to use. That was my thing. But I mean, a door is a door is a door is a door at the end of the day. And tribalism seems quite weird to me with people who get so yeah, it was eMagic, sorry. Well, they were the PC version as well, Thomas. So they still were producing it on PC because my one still says eMagic on my computer here. But yeah, the tribalism around doors seems quite weird to me. People get so upset and go, "Oh, but you should use this," and I'm like, "But
Pro Tools,
yeah,
Pro Tools. I'm constantly hounded.
mm,
We have a studio at my shop, and we're using Pro Tools. And I just really I don't get the complexity issues with it. I just don't understand why it's not set up so much easier. I mean, I like Pro Tools, I use Pro Tools, but Logic is just still so much more comfortable. And I can spend my time creating and not reading a book and tutorials on how to make it work.
I think it's one of the things I see here on this channel about trying to be a teacher here. There's always a constant need for, like, say somebody releases a great app, and as soon as it drops, people go, wow, what a fantastic app that is. But I wish it could do this, and I wish it could do this, and I wish it could do that. And a lot of the time, what people wish for is fantastic, but then when they get it, are they actually fucking using it? I think this is what my rant's going to be about this week, Mark, is about, you already have all the tools in something like GarageBand or in Logic. You don't need any extra plugins, really. If you can't make a fucking killer song with what you've got in a DAW already,
good for you.
You really should, all people can make killer music with what they already have inside each DAW. There's a compressor, there's a reverb, there's a delay, there's all that stuff. There's an EQ. They're your basics.
You could take out the reverb. I'm anti reverb.
Why is that?
I think reverb is the worst plugin that you could ever use because you get addicted to it. It's a drug. Hey, I can't hit that note unless I got reverb on it. Well, try harder. Wake up early, have a cup of tea, but you get hooked on reverb, and it's like hooked on phonics. It's like the worst possible thing. Lately, I've been hooked, and I mentioned this to you yesterday. I might be a little bit too hooked on echo to have it repeat in the left channel. That might be because there's always a little space that I always feel like I want to fill it. But reverb, if they took out reverb from all the apps, I think that would really help out a lot.
I love a good
My
reverb.
personal opinion.
I love a good reverb. Oh, you know what reverb I love the most? The big shimmer ones that go on forever. I love those ones. I hate the bland ones. They're boring. But let's talk. So you playing in bands, family happens. This is a really common thing with people I interview here. Family happens. Life gets in the way. How is it? How did you get into fixing? So you start a family, you get married. How is it you get into fixing instruments? How is it woodwind instruments?
Oh, that was before the family.
All right.
That was in high school. That was way. So as I mentioned, I don't come from a rich family. My dad did support me. My mom supported me, but they couldn't really support me with all the toys that I wanted, the EP20, and they couldn't afford that. So I basically had to work, and I was bussing tables and working at pizza places and to build up enough capital to buy stuff. And then one day I was talking to my teacher, and I was an industrial arts major. I was talking to my music teacher who said I was killing music, but accepted me into the fold after sat out a couple of tunes, sat through a few tunes. And all of a sudden, my teacher goes to me, you're good with your hands. You could be making $8 an hour repairing instruments. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was in the band room and I saw all this brass and woodwinds. And all of a sudden, I fell in love. I fell in love with the idea that I could be making a living doing something I really enjoy. And the fixing broken stuff is a big sense of achievement, but it's also a great thing. I do more professional work, but every once in a while you fix an instrument for an aspiring musician, a kid, and they turn to you and they give you this big smile and they light up. I couldn't play this before. And before, many of the Asian societies have kids that have to play an instrument. A lot of cultures. And the Asian society, I used to meet the grandmother. They used to shake my hand. In this country, I'm a shoemaker. I'm fixing instruments. You're a grease monkey. But in Asia, and I've been to Asia, you are respected. You are an educator. You're a teacher. You're helping my child. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Here, I in the shop, I have an apron. I look like a shoemaker. Yeah, I'm putting on a heel. But for a lot of cultures, they come in and they speak to the tech. It's like, sensei, you are the biggest help for my child to get a scholarship, to get out of this place. And even if they don't get a scholarship, even if music isn't their major, they have they have a sense of being. They have a sense that they could really accomplish something. And when I make it easier, or even a professional plays my work and turns to me and smiles, that's payday.
Yeah, look, I think it's an amazing profession. Anybody who repairs music instruments, and I always think, there's no school that you go to where they like, you got to like take this stuff
I
apart,
went to
don't you?
machining school.
All right,
I'm a machinist, so for taps and dies,
right.
and I took electronics classes. Who does your repair work? Who's your guitar luthier?
I have one here in Melbourne. So I won't go into who he is because I don't have permission to.
Sure, no, no,
to
no,
read.
but no. It's not an advertisement.
Oh, right,
but
right, yeah.
it's your relationship with the doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. I just always think though when I go to see him, like did you just take apart guitars, or did you take apart, like for you, woodwind instruments, like, and taking these things apart, is this how you got to understand how they work and just pull them all apart and then put them back together? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it was basically I was playing woodwinds, and I really all the instruments are based on math, and I was good in math, but not acoustics. And I was really fortunate to study with some really fine people. Norman Pickering, who invented the Pickering cartridge headphones, and he worked for Diodario. He worked for Con Selmer. I was fortunate. I lived pretty close to him, and I was like the kid. I mean, everybody in my industry that was repairing stuff were old farts. They were old guys smoking a pipe, and I was a kid, and I said, I want to learn this, and they looked at me and said, "Wow, you're the first young person that really wants to learn this." Steinway has that problem. I live in Queens. Steinway is in Astoria, and Steinway is basically furniture now. They're really in the furniture business because nobody young really spent the time to learn from the old masters.
Right.
So I was really fortunate when they saw a kid that wants to learn. They were really happy, to pass on whatever knowledge that they had. But I do string work. I do violins and basses and cello work, and I'm really fortunate to have some really really great teachers that understood acoustics and mathematics and measurements, and really helped me with it.
I just think it's an awesome profession. I think I always think it's wizardry. I take my guitar to go get fixed, and somehow I don't know how it always gets so shitty. My guitar, I just don't look after it enough. But when I get it back, I'm just like, oh God, he really cares for it. Like, it comes back so loved.
And that relationship that you have with your doctor is, and you don't always find that. I
No,
mean, I've had people to leave. I was doing repair work for them for years. Then all of a sudden they just totally disappear, and then a year later they go, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're here." I go, "What are you talking about?" Well, they were in college and they had other people work on their horns, and they didn't get the love. They didn't
yeah,
get the love on the horn that it's the tale. Woodwind instruments are based on corks, and even the way the cork is cut is just an art. I mean, you could cut a piece of cork at 45-degree angle, but some people cut the cork with such flair that it's just a beautiful thing to see a craftsman, and it's just not there anymore.
And I love that one of your clients is one of the musicians in this community. His comments you see, Mark may feel like a shoe repairman, but I know for sure he's a highly respected. So you fix Kathy's stuff. Is this true?
No, I know Kathy from my industry.
Right.
We're actually really, really good friends. We were good friends before I pulled her into YouTube, and I'm in the closet with my profession. I have an issue with this. So by day I'm this mild mannered instrument tech, and by night I'm like a classic rocker. So I never wanted to merge the two. I never thought, that I'm highly respected for classical woodwinds, and to be known as the singing repairman just never really, I never really thought that I wanted that title. So I was in the closet with the music until Kathy and I were talking one day, and I said, hey, this is what I do for fun and entertainment. And then she had a lot of recordings too, but I pulled her into Jeff, and I pulled her into that addiction that we call YouTube.
Let's see, she seems to think that you've fixed something. Where did I find? I can't find it. At a conference, he's fixed my bridge keys.
Yes, well, bridge keys are really crucial. They're overlooked by a lot of different techs. Now we're she's a pro. She's really a pro, and
Yep.
it's great to do. It's great to work with passion. I mean, these people are so passionate about their instruments that the instruments have names. Do your guitars have names? Have you named them?
That's between me and my guitars.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
I'm joking.
I didn't mean to be personal.
I'm joking. They do.
But the name. Currently, I'm working with Bertha.
Mine are a bit more demonically named. One's called the Demon.
I got a Bertha on my desk, and she calls me, "How's Bertha?" She misses you.
We are widows with our instruments. I do admit that. There's one of them that I just call the bitch because it always goes out of tune, and I'm always going, "You bitch!"
No, names of love.
Yeah. Look at
love hurts
if the name fits. Let's play a song. We're going to play a song, and then we're going to come back and continue chatting. This is our song, Hangs Heavy in the Air. This is an original track, so we're playing all original stuff today. Let's bang this out, then we'll come back and talk about it after this. Are you ready to go? I'm ready to go. Let's do it right now. Boom.
Our song hangs heavy in the air. The ghost of what could have been. Echoes of laughter dance around. It's all so bittersweet and sad. I miss you like I miss the air. There's an emptiness there. What we could have been is a hard tune to sing in this empty house. Holding hands, a distant dream, faded memories. Yours once guided my soul. Now I'm lost from within. Silence used to speak volumes. Whispers shed under the stars. Waking up in your arms is a memory that makes me smile. this place where you used to sleep. I'm haunted by the warmth of your touch. You're a phantom that comes and goes. We built a castle in the stars with hope, mortar dreams of stone. Now cracks appear, the wind blows wild, leaving me so utterly alone. Holding hands, a distant dream, faded memories. Your eyes once guided my soul, now I'm lost from within. Silence used to speak volumes, whispered shared under the stars. Waking up in your arms is a memory that makes me smile.
Boom! Welcome back, everybody. Now, normally, sometimes this show is sponsored by a sponsor, but when we're not sponsored, I have to do this. Now, we do this to make sure that nobody's getting random ads halfway through and everybody gets an ad at the same time. So let me do this. YouTube is a thing where I need to run ads. So at the halfway point of each show, we run an ad for YouTube. So you may or may not get an ad right now. You can skip past it and let's run it. So the ad has been run. There it is. It just says it's been run. And while we're here at this point, I'll have Mark on back in a second. I need to let you know some stuff that is happening here on the channel. Tomorrow, we are taking a look at a really cool app that has had a huge, huge update, and that is called Mila 5. Let me bring it up here on the screen if I can. There it is. Mila 5, we're taking a look at this tomorrow. It is a modular synth. It's really rad. So that's something that is happening here tomorrow at the usual time. Get back over to me, and let me tell you, there's something special happening. Normally, I do an opening hour every Saturday, US, UK time, after Thomas Christ and before Pete Johns, and then Brad Example after Pete Johns. This week, we're doing something different, kicking off a brand new series here on the channel. And you can find the show down below. And basically, all you've got to do is go over and find the show, and there's a form. Gladys Worthington has her own show now, once a month here on the channel, called Asking for a Friend. It is an advice show. There's a form. If you go and find the show, click the form, send Gladys a question, and your question may be answered by this rickety old hag called Gladys. I'm letting her out of the closet once a month to talk a load of nonsense and answer your questions. That is coming up here on the channel. Ridiculous, I know, but enough people have begged me to do it, so I'm going to do it for you. God help this channel. Who knows? And that's, Thomas has put the link there. Go and click on the video, find the form in the description, and send us a question for Gladys, because she needs to, I don't know, have something to talk about. All right, let's bring back the man. Welcome back. What a rad song that was. Tell us about how you put that song together, Mark.
Well, I got a question for you. How bad is a harmonica? I mean, to me, it's like the violin. If it's played, you know, harmonica to me is like snoring. I mean, it's offensive. It's just like, what do you play? I play the harmonica. It doesn't have any cachet to it. It's not like I play synthesizer. What do you do? I'm a lead guitarist in the, but I was asked to do a harmonica bit, And I've always played harmonica. Then all of a sudden, it's just like everything that I'm hearing has this squeeze box type of effect that I get on the keyboard, but that acoustic sound of the harmonica. What's your thoughts on it, Jade?
I love a good harp in the right setting. I think, if you're putting a harp in just for the sake of it, it's like any instrument. If it's there for the sake of it, it has to tell the story. Like it has to make sense. And see, at the end of that song, it made sense, right? You've told your story. It comes in and it makes its point at the end to wrap everything up. I guess with any instrument, it's got to make sense. And we talked about this. This is the perfect time to get into this kind of thing. It's really hard as a musician to remove stuff, right? Because we all dogpile instruments on top and we fill the space with all this sound. But the real art is knowing what to take out. And so the song really has space. And what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, dynamics, yeah. And you can't tell a story just by putting, if you're writing a book, you don't put everything into the first verse, do you?
I'm working on a new tune with Francis, and it's piled with stuff going on. And I don't want to keep bothering Francis. What do you think? What do you think? But I stripped everything down, and it's bare bones. And I think it's working better than when it had so much going on with it. And I think that's the hard part, is to know when to stop.
Yeah, because we
know when to stop salting.
Yeah, we don't.
A little seasoning goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have somebody over your shoulder like a producer to rein it in, you can get overindulgent, and before long, you're just jerking off all over the place, all over your song, and people, you can lose people. I think
it gets muddy. That muddy is really not our friend, and it comes across. But there was, in the beginning, the delete button when you're writing is the worst button, because you lose your creative thoughts. When you're typing on an old typewriter, you can't go back. It's on the paper. You could scroll up a little bit, but the problem is when you're writing music, or you're writing a novel, anything, you lose a lot of the creativity when you go back, when you delete something. And I think a few times I've heard something that I started and it had some other instrumentation on it, and I said, gee, why don't I keep that? It works both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a tough one, because again, there is no right or wrong. This is a thing I learned from a lot of people. Whenever you're learning from somebody and they're dealing in absolutes, you have to be careful, I think, of that, because if somebody's saying to you, hey, this is the right way to do compression, well, and there's no other way, it's like, well, hang on a minute, because then you're taking out stylistic choice. And, if musicians didn't choose to have stylistic choice with the way they put together songs, we wouldn't have so many unique artists. And that's the thing that people stand out, because they break the rules, don't they? And that's the thing that's missing in today's music, in my opinion, is that there's so many tutorials that tell you this is the way to do it, and people get locked into a way of, well, that's the only way. And then it's like metal, right? For example, all the drums sound the fucking same these days, because everybody's using the same fucking drum samples. So it gets extremely repetitive, and everything just sounds like the same band. No, and then when somebody does take a risk, like Metallica on their Saint Anger album, it sounds like dog shit, and everybody hates it. So there's two sides to it, and it all depends on the song. How do you go about, I saw Francis right here that he's taken some stuff out. Do you sit there at the end of a song and go, I'm going to take out certain things? Do you make a conscious decision to do that, or is it just, let's go?
Well, it's it's different on every tune, but
Yep.
you do. I have this vision, and then when you're collabing with somebody, it gets interwoven. It's like a kite. Kite is getting lifted off from the power underneath it, the wind. And many times, Francis will look at something a little bit differently, and it's like the spice that brings everything together. And you really have to be open to it. You can't have a closed mind and say, I like it this way, because you got to be open. And just panning a little bit to the left or right on an instrument could just make everything come together.
Look, we're both vocalists. And, when you're mixing vocals yourself, you have a vision. You know what you want and where you want it to sit in the mix. How hard is it collabing with people and then sending your vocals off and then waiting for them to come? Are you scared to hear what's going to happen to your vocals when they come back to you?
Are you kidding? Petrified. I'm petrified. I put a lot of time and effort into getting my sound. If I told you, hey, send me your guitar part and strip down everything that you have on and all of your tone, and then I'm going to mix it, you'd go, later. And that's what they tell me. So many people that I collab with say, send me your track with no vocals, send me your track with no effects, and we're going to put the effect in. And I spent so much time and energy into my sound, and now you're going to just change it? I mean, that I have a problem with. It's a little bit scary when you send something off.
Yeah, it fully is. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, and this is why I bring it up, because it is important. You nurture this stuff like a child, and then you have an image of the way you phrase everything, the way it's recorded, the way the vocals sits with the music, and then effects on the top of it, or the way it's compressed, can really bury it, can just bury it into the song, and
changes the sound.
Yeah,
and changes the sound. I have a little bit addicted to microphones. I have SM58, 56. I have vintage mics. It all gets changed if somebody does a mix and doesn't put the vocals on top of the mix. The mix is crucial to get the instruments right, but I don't think the mix should include the vocals. The vocals should be sitting right on the top of all the tracks.
Absolutely. It's just the way it's always been, unless it comes down to a stylistic choice. And there's somebody here in the chat, like I'm just going to bring him up. There's his name here. Jerry Gomes. Now, if people notice this guy, and I'm sure they do because his music's fantastic, and I have the very, honor to master Jerry's music, and I've been mastering his music now for a long time, over a year at least, probably up to 2 years. And constantly he'll send me songs, and over this time I've said to him, you should remove the reverb from your vocals. You should remove the reverb. You should remove and slowly over time, Jerry's removed the reverb so much more than what was there originally, because this guy can sing like a motherfucker. And when it's swimming in reverb, I'm not hearing that voice cutting through. It's so washed, and and I want to hear it cut through. And if you go back now, I'll give you guys homework. You go back and listen through Jerry Gomes's catalog, and you'll hear that change. And I challenge anybody to turn around and tell me that his vocals are worse now, with a much drier mix and a much more predominant sound. Because vocals really do need to cut through. They are important. That's the focal point. That's the melody. That's what people.
That's the story.
Yeah,
you're spinning. You're totally spinning a story. And when it gets muted, and you can't hear it, it just really hard. And then at the end, you go, look, I don't want to be a dick, but I'm going to use a different track on my channel. And I really don't want to do that. That's like the last resort. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to say, if you're happy with the mix, you're happy with the way it sounds, go for it on your channel.
2 mixes.
two mixes. But everybody, if I'm playing lead, I want my lead a certain way.
Yeah.
But then it gets it gets rough. It gets rough, and then you just concede. You say, "Great, whatever you'd like." But that mix, you could do 10 mixes and go back to the first one or the second one. I mean, it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't improve. But
Yeah.
I hate to say at the end. I really hate to say at the end. Okay, it's enough. You're welcome to use whatever mix you're happy with. I want to use the original one or different one on my channel. It never really goes over well. That's the last resort, or that you say, hey, your mix is too much compression on it. I want to do my mix. But these are basically on covers. They're not on anything that you're really putting your name on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Covers, they can afford to go out, and it's not going to affect the story that you're telling, because it's a retelling of somebody else's song anyway,
But if I'm trying to get Paul Rogers' sound down, and I'm using his microphone, and I'm trying to get Roger Daltrey sound, that clear, crisp, every note, every word, every note that just resonates, and then somebody just takes your canvas and just does a Jason Pollock and just throw paint on it. It's rough.
Yeah. Now you know why I don't collaborate very much, because I'm a control freak.
and like at night, you're trying to go to bed. You're going, well, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? And well, the big deal is that all of your training, all the years that you're making music, all the years that you're listening to classical music, go out the window, because you don't want to. You want to make friends in this world.
Thanks, Metalhead Hippie. Metalhead Hippie sent a super chat here and says, "Say hi to Mama. Rock on."
Yeah, I have a sick mom that's hanging in there, and music has been the biggest escape that I could lose myself for a couple hours, and make some really great connections and friends, and my goal was, and I told you this, I have a place that I'm staying in. It's about an hour and a half from where I am in Queens. And my goal was to have enough music recorded that I could get into the car and travel for an hour and a half, and listen to my own music. And I just went over that hour and a half. I'm up to 78 hours now. 3 days is the iPod.
See, that makes me really happy, because I'm a big supporter of listening to your own music. And throughout the years, I've had some really strange people say stuff like, "What, you listen to your own music? What are you, a wanker?" And it's like, what, you don't listen to your own music? I don't understand how people can be in that mindset of I make it, I put it out, and I don't like listening to it. It's like, but that's your passion.
Well, you get tired of it. The problem is when you do the video. When you do the video and you've done the editing, you've done the mix, you wrote the tune, you set up the tune, you practice the tune, and then at the end you start on the video. It's like, where is my gun? I've had enough of this tune. And thankfully, there's a handful of tunes that I can actually say sound as fresh and as good as the first time I recorded it.
So we just mentioned Jeff here. How did you find Metalhead Hippie? How did you stumble into this community?
No.
And what
he found us? He adopted us. We were all orphans. I was an orphan. I was putting out a couple tunes, basically for myself, my own enjoyment. A couple of close friends. I'd throw new tunes, and then Jeff came and picked it up and gave us all a home. And gave us a sense of community. It gave us a sense of your music matters. Boom, rock on. and that was the biggest thing, is to be accepted. I was never really the cool kid. Were you the cool kid in school because you played?
Uh, to some people, and to other people, I was the person who got my head, who wanted to kick my head in. So it is that, you know, yeah.
I was always on the fringe. I was always on the outside looking in. I was always seeing groups of people, cliques, and I wasn't really that. I was doing my own thing. I was in the theater. I had geeky friends with music.
Same.
But the cool kids, no, I didn't sit at the cool kids
I
table.
didn't do
for
that
lunch.
either. I didn't do that either. Cool kids all, you know the story though. The cool kids always turn out like with fucked lives. They always do. They're the ones whose lives.
Al
fall-
Bundy.
Yeah, they always
Al
fall to shit.
Bundy, 3 touchdowns in
Yeah.
one game.
It's always the way, you know. It's bizarre how I used to get my head kicked in for liking metal, and it was such a strange thing, and why people got so upset about it. But I played sport as well, so I tell you what, like humor got me through school, survived. Always telling the jokes, so the cool people who wanted to bash my head in, I always got a pass because I made them laugh. I was the clown. I was the funny motherfucker who always just scraped through getting my head rearranged. So jokes help.
Jeff made us cool. Jeff
Yeah.
made us into the cool kids. You know, I could go online and say hi to cool kids, man. You know, I could go online at any time and say hi, and people are there to embrace it. Jeff made us cool. I mean, I was a nerd. I was a geek. I was a music geek. I was a repair geek, you know, and Jeff really got us to be cool. Jeff got us to be cool. And if you were good, you were really cool. If you were really good, you were still the same level as everybody else. And I'll always be grateful to Jeff because he made us all a home, geeks and freaks. Yeah. Well, gee, yeah, it kind of describes it because my boss keeps yelling at me for stuff. And I can go online and say hi to my peeps, my jury of my peers, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is like that few hours a week where you get to feel like a fucking rock star with everybody, you know, from the comfort of your own home, which is great. I'm going to play.
No, and I tread lightly because I'm backed up with tunes, and I get into trouble too because I do all this work on tunes. Everybody releases it, and they go to me, "You didn't like it? Why don't you release it?" I'm backed up, and I feel sorry for all these people that have to sit through another Mark Wade tune. So I'm like doing my best to space them out. How do you feel about that? Well, when is it too much? When is it too much to keep releasing?
Never. I'm jealous, man. I wish I could release I would love to be releasing music every week. I really would. I'm so jealous. I used to release so much more. I sit there and I'm not going to lie. I sit there and see everybody releasing so much music and go, man, I feel a bit left behind. But unfortunately, or not unfortunately, fortunately, I have this, you know. And like I've told you, and I've said to many people here on this channel, I feel like I've had my time in the sun. I've done so much in music outside of this, where we are right now, that now's my time to give back and, you know, prop other people up. It's nice to put other people first. And like Jeff will message me and say, "You got a song?" And I'll be like, "No." I don't. Let somebody else go, man. Like, I wish I did, but who knows? That could change. Let's play another one of your songs. This is called "You Can Make It Rain." This is another collab with Francis Damasio, another original song. Yeah,
one of my favorites.
Awesome.
This is really Francis did a great job with the mix and the acoustic.
Let's bang it out. You ready, guys? So that's and hello to Lizard Day and Boomer. Good to see you, Boomer. Boomer Bass Meme in the house. Holy shit. Good to see you, my friend. Let's do this.
Boom.
Oj.
see the rain coming in your eyes. Pray for a good day. Pray the water flows. Pray the God above us smiles on us today. If I was an angel and I could make a wish, I wish this day would never, never, ever end. We could go back in time, would things be the same? Will we share our souls ever again? Time goes so quickly, and time goes so slow. The time you're not in my arms goes way too slow. I have a picture that lies in my drawer. Memories of you haunt my every day. I know who is love, why things had to be. It don't make them easier when you're not with me. You can make it rain, you can bring the sun. It's up to you what the weather brings. You're a force of nature, no one can explain. You always keep me guessing what the weather brings. You can bring the sun, you can make it rain. It's up to you what the weather brings. You can bring the storms, you can bring the calm. You can bring the fire on and burn it all night long.
Now that was fire. What a great song. And you can really tell like that you had a really big input in the vocals in that, how they sound, because they're up front, they sound neat, they're not, swimming in anything. It's beautifully put together. And Francis is a gun, isn't he? Just a gun musician.
It's one of my few tunes that I could actually listen to and get excited. 6-7 months after we did it, a year after we did it, it just resonates. It's not like a complicated tune with changes and different orchestra arrangements to it. It's your basic pissed off, angry tune that I'm singing about, and it just comes out. I mean, it's just so emotional to me to hear something like that has passion to it.
Absolutely. I'm just popping over to your YouTube channel, and I know Thomas has put in links to both Francis and you. There's Francis's link there. So, and your link is in the description, but here's your playlist. So if people haven't found this out yet, so you've got original songs with you and Francis, then you've got the amateurs, and tell us about the amateurs, about that formation.
Yeah, Cliff is bona fide genius. He is an amazing guitarist, amazing writer, and he writes about silly stuff sometime and offbeat stuff. And I'm offbeat, I'm silly, and I'm I'm in another direction, and that's about 25 tunes later. I have a beautiful relationship with this brilliant guy, and he's full of surprises, and his music is like, hey, could you give me a minute here to breathe? You're going to the next verse way too quick. I like to do that Paul Rogers hang on to the note and bend the note and go into the next verse. No, 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 no. There's none of that. It's really quick, and it's a lot of tongue twisters. And it's like when you're reading something and your mind, if it's a little offbeat, your mind fills in the words. And singing is like that. My mind is like filling in these words, and no, they're not the right lyrics. So it's kind of hard. His work is it doesn't not get knocked off easy. It's very, very difficult, and it's demanding, and it makes me work.
And you have a massive, massive playlist here of collaboration covers here. I'm just going through some of these now. So who are some of these people that you've worked with? Because, I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot. Kelsey and Friends is just an amazing experience. Great to work with. His attention to detail is just amazing. And if you have a question, a problem, a concern, it's never a problem to address it and get it right and get it to the way we all like it. And he's a sweetheart. He's all about music. He's a real artist. It's not an ego thing that gets in the way of playing. It's just, I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about who sees it. We have to be happy with it. And he's just a brilliant guy to work with.
Do you,
And then I've done a lot with PJ. PJ and I have a great relationship for classic rock. PJ has that sound, and we've knocked off many, I think another 25, 28 hits.
so when you're working with somebody and you're coming up with a cover to play, I'm sure this is a varied answer. Do you come up with a lot of the ideas, or is it a joint?
Well, a lot is thrown to me,
Right.
but a lot, I could suggest, and then all of a sudden, Lori just becomes the event planner, and she's planning the event, and the cake is going to be at the end. And contracting, and it could start out, hey, Laura, are you interested in doing this? And before I know it, the emails to everybody sent, you're not involved with it, you can't make it, no problem. And Lori just puts on a different hat and becomes the event planner.
She's the super mom. That's what I call her. Loza, the super mom. She does everything.
She's a great stage mom, and she's the queen.
She's the queen. She's the queen.
And you got to kiss. You got to kneel, and I don't mind kneeling. I really have no problem. It's the end result. I see the end result. The end result is I'm in my car, kicking back, and I'm listening to something. And that's what I want the end result to be.
Is that Laurie? We're all going to kneel down to Laurie. Loza. Let's talk about what you record with these days, because you've got you are a multi-instrumentalist. That's how I look at you, a vocalist, multi-instrumentalist. What have you got going on in your studio? What do you use? What your Mac? What software? Tell us a little bit.
It's like you were saying, if you can't create with basic stuff, I mean, it's just you don't really need it. I have a very simple setup. I'm using Logic. I'm using plugins. I'm really happy that Logic allows me that Hammond sound that I grew up with, that I really feel is missing from today's music. That sound of the Hammond speaker, the horn going around, and that vibrato. That's the music that I used to listen to. Deep Purple, Steppenwolf. That type of sound, I think, is just totally lost today. And all the plugins will allow me to get that classic sound that I'm looking for. The piano plugin I'm using is Steinway. That's like I've used Bosendorf. I've used Yamaha. Steinway is by far the best sound. And if you go to the right side of YouTube, I'm sorry, the right side of Logic, you have all the plugins that you could jam with. And that's been a great source of entertainment, drum tracks. But it's just a very basic rig. I mean, I have an ES330, I have a Gibson, I have an Ibanez, got some other Yamahas, but the only thing I think I'm really addicted to is microphones, vintage mics.
Tell me about it. And I was looking at one yesterday going, I really don't need this.
I mean, it's funny. Even if I'm broke, I have the money to buy an old microphone that I grew up with, and I don't want the reissue. I want the original one, and that I think that's an expense. That's like buying guitars. When is it? When do you have too many guitars?
Yeah. Like I was looking at a mic yesterday and going, oh man, I really want this mic. And then I just looked at it and went, hang on, how many do I have? And I come upstairs and I counted how many mics I have. And then I went, now count how many mouths you have. One. Can I justify another mic?
I'm talking to Francis the other night, and he goes, "Yeah, I got this mic." He said, "Oh, I got one too."
It's,
It's just it can get to be an addiction. What's nice that Pro Tools allows you to for a plugin to use different plugins of microphones. That's a nice feature. Is there anything with Logic that'll allow you to use like a different plugin for different mics?
there are apps that, model microphones. So I know on iOS, I've covered a couple of apps on iOS that attempt to model the sound, the frequency response, impulse response of that said microphone. I mean, you see that in so many guitar sims these days. They normally have, your cab, all that stuff. It's all impulse response, even the microphones that you can put. So, I mean, they do attempt to do their best to do that kind of thing, but nothing beats having the legit article, like and that's. Do you have a trouble with gear acquisition syndrome? Is it a thing where you've got to smack the hand?
Well, I'm not answering to anybody. It's not like I'm sharing bank account with anyone.
Right.
I mean, I have to be grown up. I have to. I got to ask myself, like you did, do I really need this? And then I'll get a Guitar Center credit, and I'll go, well, I can pay it off in 6 months. And then before you know it, there's new Yamaha speakers, there's new Yamaha monitors, and there's a couple more microphone stands, and you get to feed your head with this stuff and toys.
I think the worst stuff for me, normally when I buy something, I really shop hard and read as much about it before I buy it, watch as many videos as I can about it to make sure it's 100%, because I'm spending my money. It's a little bit different like when a company sends me something to review. I have in my little wardrobe,
Yeah, me too.
there's a lot of audio interfaces that I don't use because I can only plug one in, can't I? But I've reviewed so many of them and I feel bad because I have all these interfaces and I'd love to sell them. But the way it works when you review stuff is you're not allowed to sell them, because at any time those companies can contact you and say, "Hey, remember that thing we gave you 2 years ago? We'd like you to do another show on it." And you're like, "Oh no, I sold it." So you can't do that. That's a trap, and it's a crying shame sometimes when you see somebody in the community who's maybe not got the gear, and you think, "Oh, I always think I'd love to send this to somebody," but then there's that they're going to come after me if I do that. But gear acquisition syndrome isn't a thing for me anymore, so I'm cool with it. But microphones are my problem. I can't stop looking at them every day.
And the vintage stuff, I like vintage. I just have that attraction to old luxury items, and that never goes out of style for me. And the prices vary. Some of the stuff got really expensive that was really cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to play another song. We've got about 12 minutes and we'll go out on a song. I want to get them all in here today. We're going to play, this is a short one, so we'll throw this one out there. We'll come back and bring this baby home because the time does go super quick when we're hanging out. So this is
fun.
Rock and Roll Lullaby. I'm going to cue it up, make sure I got all my shit together here because most of the time I don't. And we got all that good. All right, let's play this. We'll come back. We'll bring this baby home and let everybody get on with where they need to go for the rest of the day. This is Rock and Roll Lullaby. Oh, ja. Now, let's have some fun to close this out. Now, when I watch your video clips, Mark, there's always a lot of you in them. It's tough being a one-man band, isn't it? Because you play all the instruments, and when I watch a clip, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. There's many of you.
Yeah, I apologize.
Do you get sick of looking at yourself?
I totally apologize. And like I said, I'm very comfortable with being in the back, playing keyboard, backup vocals, very, very comfortable. But I wanted to play guitar in that, and I wanted to be known as a guitarist too, because the problem is they think you're just a singer. Even when Jeff lovingly refers to me, I'm really thought of as a singer. I'm not really thought of as a guitarist. So I thought I'd just keep putting guitar in. I'm known for being a keyboard player, but in the community, guitarists rule. I mean, it's a guitar-based community. I'm doing a guitar show on Long Island next month for my company, and I'm hoping to buy some stuff. But I'd like to be known as more than just a vocalist. And if I put myself in there a couple of different times, I want to look like I'm playing.
Hey, look, I've always thought of you as a multi-instrumentalist, because I've watched the clips, and I see that that's what's great. We do see that you
I
playing
write
all
on the
this stuff.
guitar.
Yeah.
I write on the piano, but I write a lot of this stuff. My most recent stuff is all written on guitar. I mean, but I'm not known, if I would just do some instrumentals that I just play guitar, which I'm a rhythm guitar player, I mean, then I could branch out a little bit. But the keyboard gets overshadowed by the guitar and the vocals. I mean, how much can people really take? But that's a very good observation that there's always about 4 of me in one video.
Look, you can't escape it when you are a multi-instrumentalist, and that's just the way it is.
I do want to get credit for playing keyboard.
Yeah,
I sat it out. The first tune that you played, I did set out all the instruments. I sat it out. I said, and I'm not even a big fan of stock video.
He's right. Thomas is right, man. You do. You get a free pass. It is.
I mean, the first one I totally sat out. I experimented with throwing myself in shadows and everything. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to have this blend of me being there and sometimes just the scenery. And I hate stock videos, but
Yeah.
if you need to fill up 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, I mean, it's hard to stand there.
Absolutely. And look, now we talked about this before, and you probably thought I wasn't going to bring it up, but every superhero has their kryptonite. Do you have a kryptonite?
I do, and it's really funny. I've been waiting for the elevator question the whole night, and I asked you not to do it. I did, and there's a reason behind it. And I said I'm going to do it. If he asks it, I'm gonna come out and make a fool out of myself. And what's the question? I'm going to paraphrase it. If you're stuck in an elevator, what's your pitch?
No,
for a job.
I don't ask you that.
What's the question?
No.
Brad had a good answer.
Yeah,
Brad
yeah.
had a good answer.
The elevator pitch.
You could fire me. I don't care. but what is that pertaining to? But anyway, come on, ask me.
If you were in if you're at work and you have
I'm setting,
setting
it up. Yeah.
Yep, you're at work. You get stuck in the elevator with your boss, and you've got to give an elevator pitch, because you never see that boss, and it could be that one moment to tell them what you do that makes your job important. What would be your elevator pitch to your boss?
Okay, I wouldn't be in the elevator. I'm severely claustrophobic, and I would have to take the stairs. So if I met him on the stairs, I could have a comeback. My kryptonite is elevators or anything tight. And I never had this when I was a kid. I used to go in closets all the time, climb trees, never had a problem. Then all of a sudden, I got stuck in an old elevator in New York, and a 3-man elevator, and it stopped, and there was just like cold sweat dripping off of me. So I just thought it was funny. You go, Mark, if you're ever in an elevator with your boy, no, I wouldn't be in the elevator.
Look, I feel that. I hate elevators. I do hate them. I always fear they're going to get, especially old ones. I was just filming one of my Walk With Me's a couple of months ago, and I had to take an elevator up to this bar, and I swear the thing was like going,
Oh, gee.
and it was really
gee.
small and super old. It even had like the old thing going across. It wasn't even digital or anything.
Oh, gee.
And I was just in there going, fuck, I'm going to die in this thing. It's going to snap. The cable's going to snap.
The problem is once I get there, I'm thinking about what's going to happen when I have to leave. So all of a sudden, I got a kaleidoscope going on in my head
Right.
that I won't be able to leave. There'll be all these people that want to jump on the elevator. I'm going to be there. So I didn't always have this, but I'd say about 10 years ago, I was in an IKEA, and they had this huge elevator, and these kids kept pressing the buttons, and the elevator didn't know what to do, and it was a big space, but I just closed up with air. So I think my kryptonite is it's definitely my boss on the stairs.
I'll come out. I'll give you mine. I don't really talk about. I think I told you. Mine's bananas. I can't do bananas. I can eat bananas.
I thought you were joking.
No,
I thought that was a joke.
No,
I thought that was funny.
I can't do bananas. I really
I can't
can't.
juggle. I can't. Banana. What's up with that?
I can have them. I can't do peanuts as well. I can't eat, hang on. I can't do satay sauce, but I can eat peanuts by the handful. But bananas, to me, every time I try to eat one, like I like the taste of it. If you make a smoothie out of them, I'm cool. But the texture, when I eat a banana, it feels like I'm eating a cock covered in corduroy.
I thought when you said that,
No,
I thought that was a
no,
joke. I thought a fear of
real.
bananas. Oh yeah, that's a legitimate
I just
fear.
can't. If can't put them in my mouth. I just can't do it. I feel it just doesn't work. You know, I don't tell people about it too much unless I'm dating you. Like I'll tell you about it, but yeah, I can't put in a furry.
Can you do the dentist? Is the dentist thing?
No problem. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, there's lots of things which I'm not afraid of, but yeah, bananas just. They're all over the screen. I can see them and touch them. I don't care. Just don't put one in my mouth. Right? I don't want to eat them.
If you smash it up, it's acceptable.
If you
on a
it's
smoothing,
the texture. It's the
it is the
texture of the
It's a
banana.
weird texture.
I like the taste, you know, but it's the
Well, that's
texture.
funny.
It feels rough and weird, and I don't know. Look, we all have our things, and that's cool. Let me hit you with the last two questions, and we'll go and play the final song. If you're on a desert island, Mark, and you only had a volleyball and some music to play, what would be the one album that would get you through?
Probably Bad Company. Bad Company. I mean, I wore out that record. I know all the lyrics. You're not supposed to deep throat it.
I'm just ignoring the weirdos.
I would think the Bad Company's first album. I think Weirdo.
So you said elevators. Nobody gave you any stick. I said bananas, and now I'm the weirdo. Oh, damn. Bad Company, great choice. Let's wrap up. Everybody gets this question, you know. It's a really hard question, this one. If you were giving advice to somebody being creative, and telling them when would be the best time to start, what would you say is the best time for them to start, Mark?
Oh, that's an easy one. The best time to start is when you really have a calling, when you have a passion. And if you have a passion and you don't deal with it, you don't live it, you don't dream about it, you don't pursue it, I think that's a waste.
Yeah.
And there's so many people with permanent potential that they start projects. Yeah, I'm going to finish this. I love these people. I'm not naming names, but how's your tune going? It's over a month. Well, I'm still working on it. In a month, so I really think passion is like the biggest thing. Is to whatever you're passionate at is to really pursue it.
Absolutely.
I like to work with my clients because they're also passionate. They have long stories. When I was 15, I got this instrument. It was the greatest clarinet ever. I mean, you got to listen. You got to be a therapist. You got to be a bartender, a therapist. But if somebody has passion, the best time to start is now.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thank you so much for coming on here today. And
Jade, it was really a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I
Yeah.
really appreciate the chat, the support, and the support of the community.
Yeah, look, I was super excited to get up and do this today. Jumped out of bed, it's freezing cold, and not every morning I jump out of bed excited, but today I was. So thank you for that, because we got to chat yesterday and get to know each other a little bit, which I don't always get to do because of time constraints and such. I want to thank everybody here for being in the chat and hanging out and supporting the show and supporting Mark and being here today and being a load of fun and keeping the conversations going. You guys rock, you know. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you very much. And those who super chatted or anything like that, thank you so much as well. It always helps. We've got a final song to play. I need to remind you again, don't forget, guys, head over to check out on the channel because this thing's waiting to be done. Right, go and find the Gladys Worthington Show. Send your stupid questions. You can do it anonymously. I don't care. Just send your questions and give Gladys something to talk about this weekend.
It's going to be a great show.
I just, I don't know, I like your confidence. I have no idea where the hell that shit's going to go. It's probably going to get me banned off YouTube because Gladys is just repugnant. But all right, so we're going to go out today with this final track. This is another song with you and Francis DiMaggio. I'm pretty sure I haven't played this one. This is I Live in Darkness. Tell us about this song before we play it.
Yeah. Again, everything is like my favorite, but this came together so easily, and Francis was just so great to work with. We've worked together years ago, and this was the first one that we started up again, and it just came together so beautifully. He did such a great job on it, and the video is really cool. It's my hometown, New York.
Awesome. Let's get into it. Thank you, everybody. And I don't think there's anything else I need to say. Oh, I need to say to you, please hang on to the end of the show so I can say goodbye to you off the air and all that jazz. All right. Are we ready to go? You ready to oge everybody? I say what I say at the end of each show. Stay awake, my friends. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. And you know what? We will all rise together. That's it. This is another interview wrapped up in the bag. We're good to go. This is I Live in Darkness, Francis DiMaggio and Mark Wade. Another beautiful original track. And we will see you tomorrow. Let's oge. See you later, my friends. Oge!